Bismillah, as-salatu was-salaamu ala rasulillah. As-salaamu alaikum, guys.
As-salaamu alaikum.
It's Muslim developers here. So we're continuing with our iOS basics course. We can make a separate label here to be stating the regularity. So it's quite easy for us to see how often do we have to do it. Okay, so we'll take a label and maybe put it right here. So inside the content view, let's move it, let's put the trailing space constraint and say that it should be, say, 20 points away. Let's update the constraint for the habit title. So it is a little bit away. It's not positioned right next to the beginning of the health bar, but rather like there is a little margin to have a nicer look. And also we can do the horizontal spacing between the two and say that okay, it has to be greater or equal than 5. And maybe for the label, let's fix the width, but give it enough width, so whatever is the label, we're still able to fit it. Configure the label attributes to alignment to be to the right side. The number of lines to 0, so sometimes if it has to occupy 2 lines. And one more thing, I think we can make it maybe of size 13, just to have a contrast between the title and the regularity. Now let's position it properly in terms of the vertical. Vertically we also center it and connect it to the code. So here we will say we'll call it regularity label. That's it. So now we have access to it. And let's put the default value as daily. And we can configure it. So now if we go to view controller, we can use only the title in case of the title label. And now we have regularity label as another outlet we can access. So what we can do, we can use habit and the regularity attribute, but as we know it is decimal, so it is still a number, and we need something similar to what we've declared at the at-Habit view controller. So it's function similar to this one. So maybe what we can do, in order not to copy our code, let's make this function available from different places, universally available. So we will cut it from here and maybe paste it to the habit regularity now as a function. So we just can iterate over the self, and depending on what is the self, we can return the exact values that we need. So now when we return to the view controller, we can do habit regularity state and get regularity title. Let's see how it will work. Okay, so we have an error. Let's see. Okay. Okay, of course. So we cut the function from the at-Habit view controller, but did not provide we did not change the code here. So regularity state, get regularity title. This is the way to do it. So one thing we can do to make it to use less code, we can declare regularity title and then pass it directly. So let's see. As you can see, we have it on the right side, daily, every other day, and daily again.
Good. Now we need to calculate our health, and calculation of health will be based on last done date, current date, and the regularity. So how often we're doing this habit. We will declare a new variable called health, and in it we need to use last done date. But since it's an optional, we need to check whether we have it at all.
So whether we've done it
Yeah.
at all or not yet.
Yeah. Self last done, and if it's not, then the health is 0.
Okay. Yeah.
Next, we need to make some operations on calendar, and for doing so, Apple provides us a good object called As-salaamu, in which you can make any operations basing on the calendar, like difference of dates, number of hours, number of months that passed from some specific date, whatever. And we need to take components from it, which will represent how many hours passed since how many hours from date last done to current date. This date with braces represents current date. And hours passed equal to what components, and we're taking our component.
Okay.
Now we have a number of hours that passed from the last time we did it. Now what we need now is we need to calculate what is how many hours are in our regularity. For doing so, we are going to regularity hours.
Okay, so regularity is basically represents the number of days, and in one day there are 24 hours. So all we do is we just take regularity multiplied by
24,
and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's true. What we need next is we need to calculate 1%, which represents in percentage the difference in hours. And we are dividing 1 by our regularity hours. Now we need to get number of hours that left. For doing so, let's get it hours left equal to regularity in hours minus hours passed.
Okay.
Yeah, and the final, we need to understand how much is it in percentage actually from the original. Percent passed.
Just call it percentage, I think. Yeah, percentage.
And it's 1% multiplied by hours left.
And that's the value we can return, right?
Yeah.
This will be the percentage. But before returning it straight away, we want to make a check, right? So for example, since the health bar, if we will be very close to 0, we will not be able to see that there is any health. So one thing we can do is to say, okay, return the percentage if it's above 5%. If it's below 5%, just return 5%. So we're still able to see this little margin with the red color. Okay, so let's return the maximum between the percentage and 5%.
We can do this using a maximum function, which will return the maximum between our percentage and 0.05.
Okay. So we will never return below 5%. If there is a last done date, if we have last done date, we will never return less than 5%. And if there is no last done date, then we will return 0.
Yeah.
And this means that there will be no health bar at all. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, we will need to map our health to some specific colors that we want to present. For doing so, we will introduce another computed property which will represent your color values. So what we will do, since our health is something between 0 to 1, we can work with ranges of health. And in here we're saying if our health is something between these, then we will return color called system green. In case our health is something between 0.65 to 0.85, we will return system yellow. If we have something lower, let's say 45 to 0.65,
maybe make it 35 or something, you know, because like yeah, just
and in all other cases we'll just return red.
Okay, what if it's 0? What if health is 0? Then we should return clear color, right?
Yeah,
No
that's
color.
true. That's true.
Now that we have everything configured, let's use it. Let's go to habit cell and declare a function, helper function for ourselves to set health. Okay, let's say that set health bar. And here we can pass several things. First of all, we can pass the progress as float, and also we can pass the color as let's say UI color, and that's it. So what we'll do here, we will go to the health bar and set the tip color to color, and also set the health bar to we will set the progress to progress. And also here, I think a wise thing to do will be to have another property here called animated, which will be the boolean, and also will have a default value. So giving it a default value allows us to, when we call this function, to provide only these two attributes, these two parameters, and the animated will have a default parameter. So if we provide some value, it will use it. If we do not provide, it will use just the default value. So the default value is that the progress bar is set without animation. Okay, so now we can use it. So let's go to view controller and make use of our new function. So we don't need set progress anymore here, and don't need the health bar. Instead, we will use the set health bar function, and we will use the habit and the health attribute, and it will exactly provide us the float that we need, and also we'll use the habit and the color. So now when we call upon the set health bar, we are given the habit, health, and the color. Let's call upon it. Let's run our application and see how it works. So since none of our habits have ever been done, all of them have clear color, and this is okay. Since the last done date is nil for them, let's provide a way to complete a habit. So when we do it, we press it and it gets done, and the app registers that the last done date. Okay, so for that we will use a function called did select row. Before using it, we have to declare that this is also UI table view delegate, because our did select function is part of the delegate and not the data source. Okay, did select row at index path. So as you can see from the name, this function is called whenever we select a row or press on it, simply press on it. So let's do the following. First of all, we can reuse this code and extract the habit using the index path, right? What we will do to this habit is we will set the last done date to date. So once we've set the date, the last done date, since it's our habit is a core data object, let's save the context. So the core data registers that now this habit has a last done date. Okay, and when we've done it, we can also do the following. We can one thing we can do, we can get the cell from TableView, cell for row at index path, and get it as, we know that it will be a habit cell. And here we'll set the health bar using the habit health and the habit color, and we will also provide the animated as true, since when we press the cell, we want to see how the health bar goes from 0 to 100.
Okay.
So that's why the animated should be true here. Okay, let's see if it works. Great, so here we have the habit. Let's press it. Okay, it goes all the way, it becomes green. And now we can, let's imagine that we've done all of this. So we've stretched, we went to the gym, and now all of them are green. And as time passes, our health for these properties will deteriorate, and they will become first yellow, then orange, and then red, as we have set it. And if we create a new habit, so new habit here, and set the regularity, let's say weekly, it will not have color at first, and once we do it, we press it, and we will have the color. So now if we reload the app again, we'll be able to see that the health bar persists, and the new habit does not have a health bar. So this is pretty much it. One last thing we could do is we could remove this gray color that appears behind the cell when we press on it, and this is the default behavior for iOS TableView. So let's go to the habit cell and set the selection to none.
Okay.
And now if we go there, as you can see, I'm pressing, and nothing appears there. So this is it.
I think it would be also interesting to have a functionality to be able to delete habits that we don't need anymore.
Okay, great. You want to implement it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go for it. For doing so, we will use some methods of TableView data source. For example, TableView editing style, and we want to add functionality of delete. So we will return just delete. Delete editing style.
Okay. So we've returned the editing style for row at index path. This is the function that we have implemented here.
And for all rows, we want to be able to delete them. This is why we don't check for index path. And now we have to add some functionality for deleting. For doing so, we will create new function, delete habit, and as parameter we will send index path. So what we need to do is we will use our core data helper called delete, and as a parameter we will send habit which is on specified index path. indexPath.row.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we need to remove an object, remove add indexPath.row.
Mm-hmm.
And what we also need is to remove the row from our list and make it in animated way.
Okay. So
So
we deleted from core data,
Yeah.
we deleted from the array,
Mhm.
and we deleted from the table view.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
uh, delete rows, and we're just sending our index path with some automatic
Mm-hmm.
animation.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is a method commit editing style which is being called every time when this action is triggered.
Mm-hmm.
So when user makes deletion, TableView calls this method,
Mm-hmm.
and in here we will use our function and send our index path. That's it.
Let's try it.
So here, as you can see, this editing was added, and now we can, if we continue dragging, it disappeared
Okay.
in an animated way.
Okay. Okay. In a similar manner, we can also, I think, configure editing our
Yeah.
habits. But since I think our lesson was already pretty long,
Yeah.
we can stop here, and our app is complete. We've implemented everything we wanted,
Yeah.
and everything we showed in the demo. And I think from this point on, our viewers can think of creative ways to improve the app and change it to something else, and also maybe add to-dos together with habits.
So guys, thank you for staying with us and watching the course. As-salaamu alaikum.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.